I don't know if it's just the tism talking, but to me, using Alexa or Google going, "Hey Google, turn on the dust collector," I think that's the dumbest use of smart electronics in the home workshop, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not a whole range of smart electronics that can be used in the workshop in a smart way. I've started integrating some of those into my workshop, and I think they're actually pretty cool. For example, turning on the lights with a light switch, that's for chumps. You should have them just automatically come on as soon as you enter the room, as if announcing your presence to the wood and tools. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but that's what I have in this setup here. Now that's all achieved with this little sensor here. I guess it's a magnetic Hall effect sensor that when the door is opened, it sends a little signal to my server. So we open the door, light comes on, it's been opened. So the server then sends a signal out to the lights to turn those on. The lights are on smart power points, but the point remains it still receives the signal from the door, which then tells the lights to turn on. That's all controlled locally using software called Home Assistant, which is free and doesn't rely on Google or Amazon or whatever third-party cloud company to provide the actual functionality. The software can run on something as simple as a Raspberry Pi, but I'm not going to get into all of that in this video, or any video for that matter. There's people who do a much better job of that, but if you don't know that these things exist, you're never going to implement them or see how they could actually help you out. Wow, Paul, you've achieved a light switch. That must feel great. That's great use of smart technology. Well, it's admittedly not the best use, but it is a nice thing that the lights are on automatically. But they also go off automatically at whatever time I set them to. So I never forget to turn off the lights because they're always off at midnight. My server takes care of all of that. So that's a nice little thing. But there are other uses that I have in this workshop. That's just a nice thing. For example, the miter saw now has a light above it, and I don't need this light on all the time, so I can just control that with a button there. It doesn't get triggered by the door. I only turn that on when I need the miter saw because it provides a nice ambient light. That was a very cheap Zigbee LED kit. I can just do that. That's real nice. No real electronic knowledge was required. This little guy here is from IKEA. It's a little room sensor, so we can see that it's got air quality on top, in the middle is the temperature, and down the bottom is humidity. So it's pretty chilly at 13 degrees, but if we look at the top number, that's one I'm actually caring about. The air quality is fine in here at the moment. If I'm using various tools, that number goes up because that's the particle count, and then the device next to it, this little one here, can control my air filter. I have a cheap button set up here so I can simulate everything without having to manually throw dust at the IKEA sensor. But I have the IKEA sensor set up talking to my server. When my server detects through the sensor that there's enough dust in the room, it can turn on the air filter. Now this is just a dumb air filter, workshop air filter, but by the use of this little guy here, it can talk to it and send those remote control commands, so commands from this remote to that to turn it on and off. So this is that button, 4 buttons in one. Each button can have 3 actions. So you got press, double press, long press. So double press toggles the miter saw station light. Long press turns off my lights. Single press turns them on. This controls the air filter. And double tap turns it back off. This communicates with my server. Again, it runs on Zigbee and has 2 button cell batteries in it, so it's good for at least a year. So this gives me a way that I'm never going to forget to turn the air filter on, because if it gets too dusty in here, it's just going to turn on automatically. And likewise, I won't forget to turn it off because the server just sends the signal to turn it off every night. It's no big deal. The other smart electronic thingy I have in here is a garage door opener, which doesn't sound particularly smart or interesting, but what it does is provides not only a way to open and close the door using that button or my phone or whatever, it provides information on the garage door state to the server. By that I mean the server knows whether the door is open or closed. Now, most of the time I can just look out the window, except when it's dark at night and I forget that I've left it open, particularly in summer. Not so much an issue in winter where that never gets opened, but in summer I do forget. And I don't want to leave this open all night. So the server goes, okay, it's 10 o'clock. You're never out here at 10 o'clock at night. Do you want the door closed? Because I've detected it's open, and then it'll close it for me or send me a notification that I should close it. This is the garage door smart thingy. It's a very small box. It's got 6 wires. 2 go to power, 2 go to the garage door itself. Most garage door openers are going to be fairly similar. It's got 2 pins here. If they are a closed circuit, the door opens or closes. It actuates. You can stick a paper clip in those 2 holes. We'll do the same thing. And then 2 go to this wire here, which in turn goes to this sensor here. It's got 1 part stuck to the door, 1 part stuck to the wall. When they're close together, they go, we're closed. And when they're not, we're open. That's how I know whether the garage door is opened or closed. For my dust collector behind me, I could use something like this, just regular remote power point or a smart power point. I could use Alexa or Google or another smart button to turn it on and off, and that would work probably at least 1 time, maybe more. The problem with these type of things is they're not designed for induction loads, particularly this dust collector is a 3 horsepower motor, so it would very likely burn it up very quickly. It's just not rated for that type of load. Instead, you'll need something like this, a contactor box that can turn it on. It uses a lower voltage signal to turn the contactor on. This particular one is an IVAC system, which allows me to retain the whole no volt release safety mechanisms of the dust collector, which is nice. I don't strictly need it, but it is nice to have that. You could make your own one of these, but all of these solutions here that I've gone through for the smart workshop are all plug and play type solutions. Maybe a tiny bit of virtual wiring in terms of programming everything to line them all up so they do what you want, but not actually any soldering, not any actual wiring. The IVAC system itself comes with a remote. I'd rather be able to turn this on via a different remote that's cheaper, because this is about 70 bucks for a remote, and having a couple of them in the workshop would mean that I could just leave them at each machine. Unfortunately, IVAC use a proprietary protocol, RF protocol, to turn things on and off, and I have not been able to replicate it. It's annoying, but this works quite similar to how I'd want a smart electronic thing to work, so I've just got the one remote and it does a good enough job. But why am I so against voice activation? Apart from it not working for my brain, it's because of this tool and this tool. If I have my respirator on, I'm pretty hard to understand. Combine that with the sound of the table saw and the sound of the dust collector, there's no way it's going to pick up accurately when turning the dust collector off. And if I've got the respirator on, it's not going to know when to turn the respirator on, and it's certainly not going to be any easier than pressing a button. And along that same vein of safety concerns, I don't believe motion sensing or presence detection is a good idea in a workshop. Motion detection in a workshop, not that great anyway. You need to move around enough, and if you're obscuring the view of the cameras or the sensor, it could think that no one's here anymore. Millimeter wave is much better for presence detection, but as cool as it is, the safety concern is still there. If I'm using the table saw and for whatever reason the sensor is obscured, maybe I've got a piece of plywood standing up, or maybe some of my camera gear's in the way and it doesn't detect me anymore, and it turns the light off halfway through a cut, that's not great. Same with any other of the power tools I have. The nighttime routine that turns off all the lights that I've left on, well, that first sends a message to me to confirm that I actually want everything off. So by all means, make your workshop as smart as possible with as much automation and all of that, but do so safely. Consider the safety aspects of it. You don't really want anything to go off automatically without confirming, and you don't want to rely on any voice commands when you should really be using your respiratory protection, which will of course muffle the sounds, blah blah blah. If you can get buttons, great. Don't go for all the voice crap, it's not worth it. I don't really know what the point of this video was. I think I just wanted to share some cool stuff, and maybe you have some cool workshop automation stuff that you can share. And for those who don't, maybe this will be a good entry point, or at least get you thinking about the things that might make your workshop smarter. Thanks for watching.